So in the process of doing our design work, I'm always trying to figure out a way to streamline our process and really take out, first of all, the visual noise in our designs, make them simple, but also communicate as much information as possible with the least amount of components and elements in the design. And we've been fairly successful doing that. We're also trying to save time. We're trying to really get rid of the repetitive tasks that are required. And a lot of it has to do with old school way of doing things, not thinking things through. And there's been a number of times over the years that we've all of a sudden realized, why are we doing this, or why are we limiting ourselves this way when really we don't have to. And I want to show you a couple different things that we're doing. This is the latest one. On the left, what you're seeing is the plant list for a design. And this is a little box up in the top. It'll say plant list. And as you can see, we don't have numbers next to the plants. We have initials. And those initials next to the plant are actually the initials of the scientific name. And really, it's like, why do we need to have numbers? And then you spend all sorts of time putting the numbers in, and then you'll add a plant, and you're trying to keep things organized, and it's really a lot of work. Whereas if we just always use the initials that we devised from the scientific name, our plant symbols, which you can see on the right, will already have that. And what's great about having this is an Adobe Illustrator, and the symbols that are in the designs show up here. And then once we get them all in here from our library, maybe you've already watched that video, but we create a symbol library, and we've now added these plants to this design, and we're kind of randomly bringing them in at some point, but we do bring in our trees and then our shrubs and our perennials and the ground covers and things like that, the nitrogen fixers. We're always adding plants, things that aren't on the list, and some things that are on the list that we haven't put in the design yet, those kinds of things. And you don't want to add a plant, then you have to reorder it and do all that work over. But this way we can add the plant, and what's great is we can go up here and just have it sort by name, and it will automatically sort all the plants because we have those initials in the beginning which match the initials on the symbol. And so they're already going to be in alphabetical order. And then when our client is actually working, or excuse me, looking at the design, and they see the initials BN or PS or whatever that might be, they can actually go over to the plant list, and they can see what that initial stands for and what it is in here. And we're still working on this. Some of these in our symbols aren't on this list, and some things on this list aren't in there because this is a work in progress right now. But that's our new strategy, is to not keep numbering these, leave the initials on the plant symbols as much as possible. Mute them back, as I've shown in some of the other videos. Our text and our fonts are very thin lined. We want to keep things really at a minimum graphically, so it's easily read. Now another part to look at here that I want to show you is the fact that everything that we work in, every design that we work on, is in 20 scale. 1 inch equals 20 feet. And it doesn't matter if we're doing 10 acres, 25 acres, or 160 acres. In Illustrator, we can always be working at 20 scale because it's a huge file. We could never print it out. Sometimes it'll be 6 feet across. I mean, you're working on something that's 160 acres, and 1 inch equals 20 feet. It's a pretty huge file. But it really doesn't matter because we're going to resize that later. So our working file, like in this case, is 20:1. We still have our bar down here, which shows the scale that this is, and this is what we use when we bring it into our title block. But suffice it to say that everything we do is in 20 scale, which means all of our symbols are in 20 scale, and we don't have to resize anything when we work. We just always work in 20 scale in Adobe Illustrator. And then what we do is we bring this into another file. So one of the tools that's in Illustrator are artboards. That's these here. And the artboards are really helpful because they show, let's see if I can get it to show here. It keeps jumping around. I'll try and get this to move up a little bit. Here we go. It won't stay up there. Let me try and resize this for you a little bit. Make it a smaller window. Get those artboards to show up. Okay. So we have our artboards selected in here. And I think on this one we only have one because there's just this is our regular file. This is the whole acreage that we're working on. And look at what we have here though, is that there's one artboard on the outside and one artboard really for the zone 1 and 2 area on the design. And so we can go back and forth between these. There's an artboard there, there's zone 3, artboard 3, artboard 2, and artboard 1, which has the entire design in it. This again, remember, is in 20 scale. Now once we do our design work on this, and this is our artwork, we call this our artwork board. This is the artwork file. We then place this file into a title block, and the title block, which I'm gonna, and you can see these artboards are popping in here again, right? The title block itself is at a scale that we decide. So all of the artwork that you're seeing here, you can't even edit it. The only thing you can edit is the final plant list. All of this comes from the other file, and we basically, what we've done is that we've resized the artwork that we were working on and placed it. Well, first of all, we placed it into this title block, and you can see it has our name on it and the client's name, where it's at. All of our data is on here for site conditions. We're always adding to that. It gets smaller and smaller type and more information on that. Right? We have and all of our note blocks and things. Again, it's a work in progress. So you can see all this information. So we come back and we size this later. And now you can see outside of our board, outside of our printed area, is this little chart. And we measure this and decide what our scale is going to be. So it's really not that difficult. And so I can take my measuring tool, my basically the measuring stick, the ruler, and look up here and look at that. It's 400 feet is about 10 inches across, and I got a little off on that. Well, it's 40 to 1. Great. 40 to 1 is now our scale for this presentation. That's all we have to care about, because we're always working at 20 to 1 on the regular artwork, but in the title block it appears at 40 to 1, or it could be 50 to 1, or it could be 200 to 1. We don't really care. All we want to do is make sure that the design fits in this 24 by 36 inch space. By the way, sometimes we work in 36 by 36 and we make a very large square file. The standard size, because most things are horizontal or maybe sometimes vertical, we use a 24 by 36 format because that's the standard format for most landscape engineering design paper. But if we want it larger, we'll go up to 36 square, and that's about as big as we really want to get, because after that output gets really difficult and laminating gets expensive. So 24 by 36 is our standard size, 36 by 36 if we need it, but that's just the title block. And that's for our presentation. We place the old or the other artwork, I should say. We place the artwork file in this, we resize it, and then we go down to the little ruler, and then we just decide, okay, what's our magnification going to be in here so that this file can be used. Now, if we go into the links on this, here we go. Oops, lost that. And I link on this file, I think it's the top one, it'll actually tell me that we've scaled down our 20 to 1 artwork 52% to make it fit at 40 to 1. Works good. Actually 20, 52, somewhere in there, there's some scaling differences. It tells us a lot of other information on here also. But that is what it's giving us for information. To what size we actually scaled this down to. So the process is, and this has really made our life a lot easier, we have one file that is 20 to 1, and that's our standard scale for all of our work. All of our plant symbols are at 20 to 1. All of our swales, all of our key information, things that we have in our key, these are also scaled at 21, although most of the time it doesn't matter, but at least we have our standard look for the swales, the paths, the roads, our property lines, things like that. It just makes it easier because it's all ready to go. We have a little insectary island up here as an example. This file is 20 to 1. We do all of our design work on this. All of our layers of all of our information is in here. See if I can bring that down. Here we go. All of our layers, all of our base map, all of our concepts and things that we're working on are all in the artwork layer. That is totally separate. And then we place this artwork into the title block, and then we add our lists, and then we add our notes, and we add the other things that we need on our title block. So those are two separate files that we're working with. This really makes it easy. So you have your plant list, you have your symbol library at 20 scale, and you keep building that. You have your artwork, your concepting file that you're working on. That's at 20 to 1, and then you place that artwork in your title block, whatever size it is, and you decide yourself what that scale is going to be that's reasonable within any 10 feet either way. 20 scale, 30 scale, 40, 50 scale, 200 scale, depending. And then you decide what it is, and now you have decent presentation, and you didn't have to rescale everything to make it work. So that's kind of our process, and this is kind of that whole package that we're trying to figure out a process so that it's easy to work, it's reusable, we don't have to keep doing things over and over. We have a standardized process for doing our design work with permaculture, ecological design, homestead design, whatever it is. We want to make sure that all these tools are standardized so we can work quickly and spend our energy on strategy and being creative problem solvers. Thanks.